Hello everyone. Sara here. Thank you so much for joining me for an emergency card essential hop. And this is a collaboration with Trinity Stamps and Sara Liz from Sassy's LLC. She has created 2 die sets that coordinate with her emergency card essentials. And those come out, I believe, every first and third Friday, if I got the information correct. And that's a lot of free resources on her channel that you can grab. And I'm going to be making this mug that's going to be a pop-up surprise. So this is part of the die set. You can actually create items that pop off the card into your face. And it's amazing and it's awesome. And I can't wait to show you. So let's just get right into it. These are the products I'm going to be using for this card. And the first one I'm showing you is the Cocoa Mug add-on, which also includes the coffee mug card die. So I'll cut out the whole mug and make a hot chocolate. I also have these tiny mug dies. And then here are the 2 dies, the emergency card essentials, 1 and number 2. And you can see all the different sizes that will cut out the printables. And you have some smiley faces and matte layers and other types of embellishments. So now I'm going to show you an example. So this is one of the emergency card kits, and you can see the die fits perfectly right there in the rectangle. So there's one for all the different pieces. So we're going to start off making my card, and I'm using the die on some pink cardstock, and I've just cut that out, and I'm going to put that aside, and that is the base of it. To create my shaker, I wanted a little bit of thickness. Because this die is very dainty and thin, I wanted to really make sure that it was nice and thick and sturdy, almost like chipboard. So I cut this out 4 times, 3 in white and 1 in the same color pink as the card base. And I'm going to glue those all together to make it nice and thick. And then when I go to use it by adding my foam tape, it's not going to go all flimsy and flippy on me. It's going to be nice and sturdy, so it's going to make it very easy to work with. And there's my piece of acetate. This acetate is way too thick to cut through my die machine, so luckily this mug shape is pretty easy. So I'll just glue that right onto an oversized piece, and I'm going to put that aside, and we'll get back to it when it's completely dry to cut it off. The next thing we're going to do is use these little tiny dies on this pattern paper. I thought this paper was perfect for creating mugs because of some of the designs on it. I can actually see these mugs being in my kitchen. They're really, really pretty. And when I was actually cutting them, I just strategically placed them on the paper where I'd get a nice, for example, bird in one case and some flowers on the other. I'm using some burlap sack ink from the Distress Oxides, and I'm just going around the edges just very slightly. And then I pull out some gold metallic, what is it? It is an acrylic ink that I'm using. It's nice and wet, and I'm just going to spritz that over all of these mugs. And it's just going to give it a little bit of shine to it, but not really stand out. Unless, of course, a big glob lands on it, then it will. But in most cases, it's just slight little splatters on the cups. And I'm going to put that aside and let those dry. And while that is drying, I'm just going to go back to my shaker part and cut off the acetate. I'm going to cut these into strips because I need these leftover pieces cut off for my mechanism that goes inside the card. And you'll see that when I get to it. But I'm just going to cut very closely, but make sure that my strips are still nice and long so I can use them. Okay, so then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in some foam tape. This is actually from scrapbook.com. They had a sale once and I just bought a bunch of it, and I like it for this particular one because it's the perfect width as the die. It actually was quite bang on. I didn't have to do too much to make sure that the foam was not showing. And I'm just going to go on both edges and just the top. I'm not going to worry about the bottom because I do like it when you shake your card and the pieces suddenly disappear in the card. I kind of like that effect, so I'm not going to put too much foam tape that's going to close that off. Just wherever it is needed to make sure it doesn't fall out when someone goes to shake it. Next, we're going to start working on the mechanism for the pop-up. This die will be on the Emergency Card Essentials die number 2, And it's like a little rectangle with some embossing lines in it so that you don't need to do that yourself. And all you need to do is fold it so you kind of create this triangle shape, and then glue the one side and place that down in your card. It is actually very easy to use, and Sara Liz will actually have all the instructions on her website, I believe. So definitely check her channel out and see how it's actually done with a better explanation. I'm keeping mine down further because I know that there's a chance that my mechanism might show off the card while it's closed. So I'm going to keep it down low so that I have a little bit more control. The way I'm going to set up my card is going to be quite different than what you would normally want to do when you're creating just a basic image that's going to pop up. I have pieces that are flying all over the place, so I'm going to make sure that I have the space. And because this is not an A2 size rectangular card, I also have to take that in consideration as well. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to bring in our acetate pieces. And these are the ones that I had cut off my shaker card. And I'm just going to make sure that they're semi-straight and thin. I'm not too worried if they're not perfectly shaped. The whole point is you don't see them. That's why I'm using acetate instead of cardstock. And I'm just going to glue these on different angles because I'm going to have my pieces flying different angles. So I did put one on the inside, on the right hand side. I put one just now on the left hand that's going across to the right. And then I'm going to overlap the third one and it's going to lean on to the left side. I'm not worried about the lengths because as you can see, once I close it, I can then trim those pieces off and I know exactly where these elements cannot go any higher. So when I'm going to put my little mugs on there, I can't let it go past that acetate strip. So there's all my little mugs. I did create a little bit more off camera and I added 3 here with some hot cocoa and a little bit of whipped cream that's kind of floating off in different directions. Because I'm going to give the impression that the mugs are flying off the card, but these mugs are full of hot cocoa, so they are also flying across towards you. Now how I'm putting this together is I'm going to place the mug down in a spot that I know when the card is closed, you won't see it. And then I'm going to add a little bit of glue and align it up with the acetate sheet or a little strip and then glue that down. I just need to make sure that I don't glue to the card because I am using liquid glue, so it may seep when you press it onto acetate. So I'm just being very careful that I wipe that off and just make sure that everything is hidden and no extra glue is shown. So there we go. There's my little mugs with some cream and they're flying off the card as you see whenever you use it. To design or to make the inside a little bit prettier, I've taken these diamond shapes that are part of the die set 2, and I believe you could turn those into ornaments actually, so that's kind of fun. But I've just made it as a shape that I'm going to put in the card, and I'm adding a little bit of oxide, some spun sugar on the back there, just to kind of create some definition between these mugs and that pattern paper. And I'm just going to stack those up because I just want this this idea that there is a lot of hot chocolate that's coming. There's a lot, so you don't need to worry about it. You're not going to run out. So I'm just going to stack those up, trying to make it look like they are tipsy-turvy, just barely resting inside of each other. And then I'm going to glue that down on the inside. And there we go. There's the inside so far. Now I did ink the outside, but I realized that I didn't ink it enough. I think this is a great color on this pink cardstock, but I was hoping that I would actually be able to see it through the shaker, but I didn't actually ink far enough inside to do it. And I forgot to ink the shaker part itself. So that step was kind of pointless, but because I did it, I might as well just left it in the video. Otherwise, you'd be wondering, why is it suddenly pink on the outside? You don't need these unknown questions just lingering around. So there we go. There's the answers. Now that I have that all set up, I have the whipping cream and the chocolate syrup coming down. I'm going to just attach that to the top here. Now, before I fill this all up with some sequins, I'm going to add my sentiment here. This is the one that is from the printable I showed earlier, and it says, "Have a cup of cheer." I used the die for cutting that out and the matte layer using the same pink, same dark pink as the inside. And now I'm just going to glue that down, making sure that I get some of that drip to hang over top of that sentiment. I think that's kind of cute. So it looks like the sentiment is actually part of the mug, as if it was the saying on it. Now, maybe wondering why I've cut this drippings 3 times. That is because the fact that I made my shaker 4 layers thick. I should have cut this thing 4 times, but 3 was more than enough. I just want to get this going. So the reason is I want to make sure that when I put this down, it's not going to sag. It's going to be nice and flush with the card. Thankfully, the sentiment is also 2 layers, so that kind of makes up for that missing layer. And now I just add a little bit of ink, just so that it's not so plain. I'm just bringing in some gathered twigs? I have a hard time memorizing these inks. Gathered twigs, I think that's what it said. Distressed ink. And there we go. And I'm going to just glue that down, and it's going to be a chocolatey mess we're creating here. This delicious hot cocoa. And we'll just glue that right on. And that little drip over the sentiment is just absolutely adorable. Okay, so next we're going to take off some of these tapes. Not all of them, because I need to still put the sequence in there, but I find this is easier for this scenario than pouring all my sequence on the card and then trying to do this, because the card's already so full, or so full inside that it's bowing, so I don't want all the sequence to go flying. Now, while I do this and get all the sequence ready and everything, I can tell you that this is a hop. There is a few of us that are going to be creating and showcasing our creations using these dies. And I definitely recommend that you check them out and see what they create. It's going to be quite an awesome lineup of cards. And there's also, I believe, a $25 gift card or shopping spree with Trinity Stamps. So in the description box below, there is a form that you can fill out, and you have until October 22nd to fill this out, and you can win that $25 at Trinity Stamps. So that's definitely worth checking out. Now I'm taking this ruler, and the reason I'm using a ruler is because I don't have a sentiment for the inside that I want. So I need to bring out my little block that I can create my own sentiments. And it says, "or several." And I need to make sure that's nice and lined up. If it's not, I'm okay with it. It's not a big deal. And even you can see right here, I didn't stamp it perfectly. I'm just going to grab my pen and I'm going to copy the R above it and just fix that with some ink. It's not a big deal. These cards are handmade. They're meant to be flawed. And when I say flawed, I mean perfect. It's because that's what they are, no matter how they look. So there we go. It's all good. And the sentiment is now saying, "or several." So if you open it, if you have it closed, it says, "Have a cup of cheer." And when you open it up, it says, ... or several, which is hinting why there are so many cups flying at you. And then I made this one off camera that is spilling all over the place with a little bit of white ink there. And I'm going to use that gel pen on the other cups as well to create a little bit of highlight. I think this is so cute. So there we go. This is my shaker card. I had so much fun making this card. It's silly, it's me, and I hope you enjoy this as much as I do. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic day. Enjoy the hop, and I'll talk to you all later. Take care. Bye.